Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Tennessee Urology. You see the website right there. This is the team I turned to 10 years ago. Can't believe it's been 10 years. When I got the surprise news that even as a semi-young man, I had prostate cancer. And it's the team my family turned to again when my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer just a few years ago. And we turned specifically to the man I introduced in booth number 2, Dr. Christopher Ramsey, back with us for the 10th straight year. We've been doing this prostate cancer awareness segment at this point of the season. Thanks for joining us. You know, this disease, and Mike is here because back 10 years ago you were selling the equipment that they use to treat this type of cancer. One of the ways they treat this type of cancer. So I'm leaving you out here as well because you know the ins and outs of this disease and how it's battled. 160,000 American men diagnosed with this every year. 27,000 men die from this. The incidence rate over the last 20 years has doubled in the United States. And yet, Chris, it's not that hard to catch if you simply take it seriously. Just do your part. What does that entail, catching it?
So, early detection is the key to finding prostate cancer and treating it successfully. Men who are 50 should probably get a PSA and then the dreaded rectal exam. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's necessary because about 25% of prostate cancers aren't found with PSA, but they're found with the exam. If you're at higher risk of the family history of prostate cancer or a black man, you should probably be checked at age 40 because the incidence is higher. And then in black men, it's actually more aggressive. So it's really important to know, who needs to get checked and who needs to get checked earlier.
But it's not, you're talking about something that the PSA test, when you're
blood test,
it's a blood test.
You get it done with all your other blood work.
Yeah, it's very simple, very easy. You just have to go in and say, this is what I want to do. We've had people, since we decided to talk about this 10 years ago, we've had other people come out here and tell their stories. We've had former athletes tell their stories. We've had former media people tell their stories. One of the guys who came out and talked about it was legendary Carson Newman football coach Ken Sparks, who later passed away from prostate cancer because he didn't catch it early enough. And one of the things I remember, Mike, that he said on this show when he was with us and imploring people to take it seriously was he thought, I'm a macho football coach. I don't need to do these. I don't need the exam. Yeah. I don't need to worry about this. Can't happen to me. This disease doesn't differentiate between tough guys, and it's not always based on age, as unfortunately I'm able to tell. But this idea that I'm too tough to go get this digital exam once a year, people need to get over that.
Yeah, they do, and you think about it. I can't believe it's been 10 years. Yeah. Right? It's 10 years that you were diagnosed. I remember where I was at when you called me. I mean, I was in Cleveland, Tennessee, pulling into the Walmart. I don't know what for, but I remember you calling me. Now, because you were able to detect it with a PSA and then a couple of things, which is just something that you wouldn't have known. Right. Fast forward 10 years, have you not caught it, where would we be today? Right? And so that's the thing I think everybody needs to think about is, yes, it's part of growing older. I mean, things happen. You get older. I just hit 50. I'm starting to fall apart a little bit. But I know exactly what I need to have done. And if you're a man and, just go in and do it, right? It's not terrible. It's not awful. It's not, the end of the world. But at least right? Yeah. Because, Tennessee football is pretty good this year, or could be. Where are they going to be in 10 years? You may want to know, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing you've talked about before. If you talk about 1 in 6 men have this, how many guys off an 85-man scholarship team?
Well, that's true, and you're walking proof of what early detection can do because, typically prostate cancer may take up to 15 years to cause your death. And you were 40 at the time, and 39. And if you had waited 10 more years to find it when you should have had your PSA done, I mean, you're kind of an anomaly. But fortunately, your doctor got the PSA because you had issues, and that was very fortunate. So early detection is the key to fighting prostate cancer. And Coach Sparks said that the reason he didn't have it done, besides just being manly, and he did say that, but also he didn't have time. He was busy recruiting. He never had time to go to his doctor. And I see that very often where people come into my office and it's very aggressive, advanced prostate cancer. They've never seen a doctor in their life. They're 60 years old now. So, you know, when you turn 50, it's time to start going to your doctor, get your colonoscopy, get your PSA, get your blood pressure checked, and, you know, just everything that needs to be done. And just look out for your health, because if you don't, no one else will.
Yeah, and the other thing, you know, when we started talking about it, the hope was that, well, if it helps one guy out there, and in terms of the word that I've gotten back, that you've gotten back, that we've talked about, that kind of kept track of this over the years, 5, we know, but lots and lots of guys have gone and gotten their PSA. I've had people come up to me. I never anticipated being Mr. Prostate, right. But around town, the number of guys who will walk up to you at the grocery store and say, hey, I went and got this because I saw your show. Not what I expected, but it's positive when we've had 5 people that we know of who've detected cancer. Not only got the PSA, but they found they had it. So it is important. And the other thing about it, so many people are squeamish about it because you get online and you read what possible side effects of treatment are. And a lot of those side effects scared the hell out of me, I tell you. But the trick is you then realize, well, a lot of these things are built up from the 60s. And the way this used to be treated with Dr. Shaky Hands, that's no longer the case. Right. There are ways to treat this that will not change your life in a great deal. Yeah. And I just think it's important for people to know that. Chris, with Tennessee Urology, you guys went through the telehealth. I know you're doing some of that. Mm-hmm. How are you treating patients at the moment?
So when you come in, you have to have your temperature checked before you come into our office. You need to wear a mask. You know, that's an absolute necessity because we don't know where you've been and you don't know where I've been. And the problem is you know where I've been in some cases. So make sure that you take care of yourself. We have our waiting rooms are open. The doors are open. We're spacing people apart. We're not letting people in until the time of the appointment. So we're doing our best to keep contact at a minimum.
Chris, thanks to you. I can't recommend this gentleman and the team at Tennessee Urology more vocally. They just did wonders by me and again by my father. So thank you. Mike, I thank you. You said that I called you. It's because I knew you were in this type of field. When I found out I had the diagnosis, I called you and I said, I'm looking for this type of treatment and who should I go to? You got me the right guy, which I appreciate.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much. Do me a favor. It's one time out of the year, and I know there are people like, shut up, we've heard this. Do me a favor. Go get your PSA test. Go see a doctor. Talk to them if you need the PSA test. Do the yearly exam. It's not that big of a deal. It could save your life. That's how big it is in terms of importance. All right. Thank you, Dr. Ramsey. When we come back, we're going to have Sterling and Daniel back out here. We're going to talk about Cade Mays, transfers. Should the NCAA be making changes to the way transfers are handled? Come on back on the Sports Source.